Hey guys, and welcome back to another Conan Exiles video. Today we are building the Mausoleum at Halicarnassus, one of the wonders of the ancient world. The requirements of this build are on screen now, and as always, feel free to screenshot the blueprint. So without further ado, let's get started. As this is a speed build, I won't be running through the construction step by step, as it's actually pretty simple. It's just a lot of tiles that need to be placed. However, in my research, I did learn a lot about this structure that I didn't previously know, so rather than just leaving you with the build, I thought I'd go ahead and dump some knowledge of that history for those who don't know much about the mausoleum. Full disclosure, I am probably going to horribly mispronounce most of the names related to the mausoleum, so I apologise in advance. I remember when I was a kid, I used to love the 7 wonders of the ancient world. I'm not really sure why, but I just thought there was something fascinating about these impressive structures, most of which didn't exist anymore. The Mausoleum at Halicarnassus was never really my favourite, but as I've gotten older I found myself appreciating it more for the simple yet incredibly elegant design. The Mausoleum at Halicarnassus, also known as the Tomb of Mausolus, was the burial site of King Mausolus and his sister wife Artemisia II of Caria. Mausolus was a satrap in the First Persian Empire, basically a governor of a province. The mausoleum was built somewhere between 353 and 350 BC in what would become modern-day Bodrum in Turkey. The tomb itself was said to be designed by the Greek architects Satyros and Pythias, with the elevated structure being derived from the tombs of a territory nearby named Lycia, a place that Mausolus had invaded and annexed sometime around 360 BC. The tomb stood 148 feet high, each side adorned with sculptural reliefs designed by Leochares, Bryaxis, Scopas and Timotheus respectively, 4 renowned Greek sculptors. After its completion, the mausoleum was widely regarded as a triumph of architecture and aesthetics, with Antipater of Sidon identifying it as one of his 7 wonders of the ancient world. The mausoleum managed to withstand time for a good while. However, unfortunately, somewhere between the 12th and the 15th century, the mausoleum was destroyed by a series of earthquakes. The Mausoleum at Halicarnassus was the last surviving of the 6 destroyed wonders, with only the pyramids of Giza remaining standing in the modern day. In the 19th century, a British consul would recover several statues from the Bodrum Castle in Turkey. In 1852, archaeologist Charles Thomas Newton would be sent to search for more remains of the mausoleum. Though Newton could not afford to buy up all the potential plots of land that the mausoleum may have sat on, he instead decided to research ancient writings, and through a painstaking process, he managed to work out which plots of land could prove fruitful. Eventually he located walls, staircases, foundation corners, and even the statues of Mausolus and Artemisia. Some of these relics, including the statues, now reside in the British Museum, and the beauty of the mausoleum has inspired many other notable structures, such as the Shrine of Remembrance in Melbourne and the Masonic House of the Temple of the Scottish Rite in Washington, DC. Such was the influence of the Mausoleum at Halicarnassus that the name of Mausolus has turned into mausoleum over time, a term used generically for an above-ground tomb. Whilst perhaps not as impressive a concept as the Colossus of Rhodes or the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, the Mausoleum at Halicarnassus is perhaps one of the greatest monuments of the Greek style of simplistic and balanced opulence. Reconstructing the mausoleum in Conan was a touch difficult, as various interpretations and renders of the tomb include smaller variances in details. I used this particular image as the main inspiration, and thus the design replicates it. I've seen other recreations that include a large agora on the exterior, and others that depict the statue layers as traversable walkways. However, I decided to replicate this specific design using the source image I showed earlier, as it has the correct feeling that I was looking for, and it was more important to get the overall essence of the mausoleum correct, instead of the smaller and ultimately less important details. Unfortunately, in my research, I couldn't really find any detailed information about what would have been inside the mausoleum, aside from, of course, the tomb of Mausolus and Artemisia. I did have to take a bit of a creative license on the interior of the build, but this build is more about reconstructing the mausoleum rather than the smaller details like what's on the interior. Overall, after a couple of teething issues in early drafts of the build, this one actually came out really well. I've always been interested in the 7 wonders of the ancient world, and if you guys do want to see more of these in the future, I would definitely be interested in trying to recreate some more of these wonders. There are some that are less feasible, like I don't think the statue of Zeus would translate well, and the same is true for the Colossus of Rhodes, but I could definitely give some of the others a try. So as with past speed builds, I will leave you with the rest of the construction until we take a final cinematic view of the finished build. If you want to, you can feel free to skip ahead to the finished build through the chapter on the play bar below. This is a pretty simple build overall, but I am really happy with how it came out and I hope you all enjoy it too.